Welcome to Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged, a podcast for all women with a creative business who want to learn more about how to make money doing something they love. I'm Joanne Pearce, a female entrepreneur myself, 15 years experience running my own handmade stationery business, Vintage Twee. I'm an established seller on two of the biggest handmade marketplaces, so I've got a whole load of advice to share about how to start and run your own successful creative business. I'm also a wife and a mother, so I get the struggles of trying to do it all while you're raising a family. It's hard. Alongside running Vintage Twee, I'm also a mentor for other women like me who desperately want to work for themselves but just need that bit of support to get going and get their business dream off the ground. I'm a friendly northerner, I'm open and honest with a huge heart and a real fighting spirit, and I'm living proof that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to, even in the face of adversity. This podcast celebrates the selflessness, strength, and resilience of women in business. So if you're ready to ditch the 9 to 5 and learn how to start your own successful creative business, you're in the right place. Hello and welcome to the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast. Now, the past couple of months, I've been surrounded by a lot of noise, like real noise, like the loud, clattering kind that grates on your nerves, and then the other kind, the noise that lives in my head as a small business owner. That kind doesn't come with an off switch, does it? But instead, it's distracting us and making us struggle to find the headspace and the confidence that we need in order to run our business. And this kind of noise that I'm talking about is internal noise. That pressure to keep up with everyone else and what they're doing, the guilt if you take a break during your working day, God forbid, to sit on the sofa and watch an episode of something you enjoy on Netflix. The sound of self-doubt whispering in your ear every time you come up with a good idea for your business. Or maybe you're sending your customer a quote and it's there saying, oh, is that too much? Are they going to go for it? Are you sure you want to send that? All these silent but deadly noises are there, like background noise that you are constantly living with, which, let's face it, is draining your energy and it's distracting you from whatever it is that you want to do. Because it's not always the obvious noises that do the most damage, is it? Although the combined sound of my husband Dave, my dad, and my daughter Eden all talking at me at the same time has slowly chipped away at my sanity the past few years and done a hell of a lot of damage. But no, it's more the sound of the low hum that you've learned to live with, that's causing you the most destruction. So today, I want to talk about the kinds of noise that steal our focus as business owners and try and look at some practical ways that we can turn the volume down. Now, let me tell you one quick story that explains why this feels so urgent right now, because I think it perfectly illustrates how much better we could all function if we could just learn to turn down the volume on that inner noise. So I just got my 6-year-old daughter Eden some new ear defenders, which one of my clients recommended. Now, Eden is hypersensitive to noises, but more specifically, unpredictable noises. So things like shouting in the playground or in play centres or at the park, like the whirring of machines or household appliances like the blender, for example, or a drill. Like Jesus, whenever we try and do any DIY in this house, and I'm not talking any kind of major renovations here, like Homes Under the Hammer style, I'm talking putting a bloody shelf up or a picture on the wall. But when we do any kind of job like this, right, I have to barricade myself and Eden in the furthest room away from the noise with the ear defenders on and the chairs behind the door and blankets over our head. It's like we're in a bloody air raid shelter or something. Sometimes I wonder if I should be stocking tins of tuna and beans in a wardrobe to keep us going, as it feels like I'm never going to get out. And poor Dave's only trying to put a bloody shelf up. Anyway, it isn't easy. And this sensitivity to noise is particularly disrupting and upsetting Eden during the school day. Where you've obviously got 300 feral children running around the playground at lunchtime, off their tits on fresh air after being cooped up all morning. So Eden was struggling and she wouldn't wear the standard ear defenders, like headphones that go over her ears, because, well, she's a bit like her mother and doesn't like to get her hair messed up, if I'm honest. So one of my wonderful clients told me about loop earplugs. which basically go snugly inside your ear with this really cool, sleek design. So, they're comfy, they're discreet, they come in all kinds of funky colours, and they actually work. And this is not a sponsor. I'm not sponsoring this podcast whatsoever, but they are so good. And I wanted to let you know about them in case your children or yourselves suffer from similar issues. So Eden's been wearing them day in and day out at school for the last 2 weeks. And guess what? She said to me the other day, "Mummy, the world seems quieter." I'll say that again. The world seems quieter. I mean, how amazing is that? She has literally cut the actual noise in her head down by half. Playground screams aren't as piercing anymore. The clatter of the lunchtime trays isn't as shocking. The music in the assembly hall doesn't vibrate through her body and send a little heart into palpitations. Instead, she feels able to function every day. She can concentrate more. She's not as overstimulated and angry when she comes out of school. She's slightly more patient and she's calmer. And all because we've managed to reduce the input to her brain by 50% at least, I'd say. So she can now tune in to what she needs to and filter out the distractions. Now, on the whole, the earplugs have been great. She actually used the term lifesavers the other day, bless her. However, Eden being Eden, and a stickler for routine, she's now refusing to take them out when she comes home from school. And she puts the telly on, turns it up to like the highest bloody volume, and then when I'm in the kitchen asking her various questions like, "Oh, what do you want for your tea?" or "Do you want a glass of water?" she's looking at me like I've got three heads and she's shouting, "What?" at the top of her voice like a deaf 90-year-old little old lady. So yeah, we've not quite found the correct balance yet. But imagine if we could do that as business owners. Imagine if we could literally block out 50% of the shitty noise that's floating around in our heads and distracting us, overwhelming us and confusing us. Imagine how much more happier we would be, how much more productive and energetic and confident going about our business. So much more. Now, Eden's story was about literal noise, I know, but there is that quieter kind of noise that can be just as harmful. So what kinds of noise are there? And what damage are they causing to us? Not just as business owners, but as people, just trying to live as happy and as carefree a life as possible. Be nice, wouldn't it? Well, first of all, there's a literal noise that we just talked about. Other people, your kids, noises in your house, your pets. I mean, my husband registers similar to a light aircraft on the decibel scale, yeah? Why do they talk so bloody loud? And then you've got my 90-year-old daughter who's watching YouTube and K-pop Demon Hunters on volume 100 with her earplugs in. God, is it any wonder I just want to sit in a dark room alone at the end of each day? But then you've got the digital noise. Yeah, this is the kind that I hate even more than Dave's karaoke singing and Eden's relentless requests for snacks. The endless pings, the trends, the algorithm pressure. When you find yourself scrolling Instagram for ideas at 1 a.m. because you're worried that you're not doing enough to stand out or to make a success of your business. Ugh, it's the worst, isn't it? Digital noise didn't really exist before social media. In fact, if I were to say digital noise 20, 25 years ago, we'd be talking about alarm clocks or the ping of the microwave or the beep of the washing machine as it finished its cycle. But no, now we've got a whole different beast to conquer, don't we? It's like a digital monster that isn't going anywhere and only seems to be growing and getting more louder and more powerful the more we feed it. And then we have the internal noise. And this is the one that I come across the most with the ladies that I work with. So this noise is more of a low hum in the background that never goes away. So that's the self-doubt, the constant comparing yourself to others, the perfectionist inside of you who keeps telling you that you don't know enough, you're never going to be good enough. Who are you to have your own business and think you can actually do this? God, that internal noise is like the boss that I have to beat and take on when I'm helping my ladies. Like, I have to bring the big boy weapons out for those assholes, I'm telling you. My job isn't easy, and a lot of people think that mentoring or coaching, ugh, I hate that word, but it's a case of teaching people what they need to know to succeed in whatever area of life they want to succeed in. And yeah, I guess part of it is that, but a small part actually. And that's where a lot of mentors and coaches will stop. They impart their wisdom and then they leave. Well, not me. Oh no. I will fight to the death with and for every single woman I work with. I am not leaving their side until that internal noise beast is slain. Like well and truly dead and buried and not coming back. That's how I work. I want to get rid of that internal noise for my ladies for good. And I'm never going to leave them in the arena alone. And we don't get out until that internal noise has been shut down. And finally, you've got the last kind of noise, the one that is more perhaps irritating than the others, but equally as harmful. And that's the noise of unwanted advice and opinions. Yeah, we've all had it, haven't we? Well-meaning or not, advice and opinions from other people who have never done what we're doing, putting their 2 pennies worth in anyway, just to plant that seed of doubt in your mind. They're wonderful, these people, aren't they? But irrespective of what noise it is, whether it's literal, digital, internal, or advice noise, they all have one thing in common. Yeah, they are all stealing your focus. And that is something that we need in order to move forward and make any progress. So, what is the cost of all this noise to us as small business owners? Well, it's a lot actually. It's costing us a lot. Starting with our time. Think about this. How many hours from your working week are you lost chasing shiny new things or redoing work after you've been distracted? Like the other day, I sat down to work on my new stationery range, yeah, which is coming out very, very soon. If it hasn't already by the time you listen to this episode. But as I was doing it and designing it, the internal noise cranks up the volume, doesn't it? What if no one likes it? Why are you wasting your time, Joanne, doing this? There are so many other better ones out there than what you're doing. What on earth are you thinking? And before I knew it, it was time to shut my computer and pick Eden up, and I hadn't achieved anything. Like, what an utter waste of a day. Then you've got energy. Noise tires you out differently. Although I'm often asleep on the sofa most nights at 9:30 p.m, when I'm just lying in complete silence and the day is done. But more like brain tired. Like, when your head and your mind are just exhausted from thinking, ruminating, questioning, doubting every decision. It is exhausting and it's taking up too much of our energy. Confidence, repeated interruption is chipping away at the belief that you can do anything, that you can finish anything. This noise is destroying your confidence and we don't need it. It needs to be silenced. And then you've got knowledge. All this noise, all these distractions, they're all preventing you from deep learning. And you end up doing what you need to be doing rather than mastering something so that you can do it well rather than half-assed. For example, you may be writing a blog or an article to help increase your SEO, your search engine optimization, and provide some value to your audience. But as you're writing your blog article all about whatever it is that you're good at, and you know how to do, let's say for me, it's starting up a wedding stationery business, yeah? The noise creeps in and it starts saying things like, what are you talking about? Again, what the hell do you know? Who do you think is going to read this? So what do? You throw something together as quickly as possible for your blog that's, mediocre instead of show-stopping because you've let that noise in and you've let it stop you from learning how to write a stellar blog article that will get picked up on Google by people looking to find out more about exactly what you are talking about and what you know. So what can you actually do about it? How can you turn down this noise that is stopping you from making any kind of progress in your business and in your life as well? Well, let's figure it out together now because there's actually 6 actionable things that you can do starting now which will help you. And I'm going to tell you what they are right now, okay? So the first thing that we have to do in order to be able to turn down this noise is to audit it. Yeah, what do I mean by this? So we have to run A little daily experiment to find out what exactly is causing this noise in our life. And we're going to write it down for 1 week. What's noisy? Okay? Get a notepad, do it on your phone, open a Google document, whatever works best for you, but keep track of what's distracting you. It could be too many texts, just pinging through to your phone all the time. It could be the constant pressure of social media every time you go on it. Your time gets swallowed up by the mindless scrolling, and before you know it, you've accomplished nothing. Whatever it is that bugs you as you're trying to go about your work daily, whatever slows you down, whatever distracts you, write it down for 7 days. I know it seems like a lot, but it's like keeping a food diary, okay? You're not going to know the problem and what you're allergic to unless you have got some evidence right there in front of you. You're not doing anything else, okay? So track it. Because by doing this, you'll be able to see what your top 3 noise triggers are. And remember, we're not just talking literal noise here, like the neighbour's garden strimmer or your husband's annoying singing, although both of these are very valid and they may make it into your top 3. So I did the audit and I'll tell you my top 3 noise triggers. So in third place was a literal noise, and it was my family. When I'm trying to work and Eden's watching YouTube on full blast with her earplugs in, and Dave's strumming his guitar on the stairs right outside my office door. They're both constantly shouting up the stairs to me, asking me various unimportant questions or ridiculous statements such as, "Mummy, my eyelashes are cold," or "Joe, can't find the cheese, where is it?" "Try the fridge, Dave," So that was, believe it or not, number 3 on my list. Yeah, it gets worse. In second place, for me, in my top 3 noise triggers, was social media. It has been distracting me way too much lately and stealing my time, particularly during the day when I'm working, or even when I'm not working. When I'm eating my lunch, I'll just have a scroll, see what's going on. Or, I'm relaxing for the 1 hour I have to myself at night before Eden wakes up again. I'll just see what's happening on Instagram. And you know what? Absolutely nothing is happening on Instagram. Well, nothing that's going to change my life anyway. It's just noise. And the top spot, number 1 on my noise trigger list was WhatsApp. So not just my phone, because in general, it barely rings, yeah? But WhatsApp specifically. Like multiple messages every hour from multiple different people. One day, Dave asked me if I'd got his message that he sent me, and I just bit his head off. At that particular time, I remember I had like 8 different conversations going on at once. 8. With various people, all important to me, all people that I want to reply to. But by the time I've replied to the 8th person, I was back at the beginning replying to the first one again. It was like this relentless cycle. And I lost like 2 hours of my working day. So WhatsApp was number 1 on my list of noise triggers. So once you've done your noise audit and you know exactly what you need to turn down, you can move on to step 2. And this is where you create something called micro windows to protect your time. Yeah, you block out 20 to 45 minutes, that's all, throughout the day. So maybe you do 1 block in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, or vice versa, whenever you're most productive, whatever works for you. And during that time, you do deep work, like the kind where nothing and no one is allowed to disturb you. So for me, I'll do 45 minutes where I don't go on WhatsApp. I put my phone on silent. I don't have the desktop version open either on my computer, so it can't distract me on there. And I'll forget about it. Now, I'm not saying that this is easy to do, and you're not going to feel guilty or maybe even a bit panicky when, like you're hunkering down for your micro window of deep work. It does take a little getting used to, and it takes practice. But this is why they are called micro windows, yeah? They're just short, concentrated bursts of time so that you can get shit done, because realistically, nothing life-changing is going to be missed in 45 minutes, is it? You can check your messages then, and you can deal with any emergencies if needed. But the likelihood is, all you're going to miss is your partner sending you a pointless and pretty boring GIF, if I'm honest, or your dad asking if you've used your new air fryer yet. Sorry, Dave and Dad. It's not exactly urgent, is it? So you don't need to answer straight away. The third thing that you can do to turn down the volume on those noise triggers is manage the literal household noise. So make an actual physical change. Don't put the washing machine on while you're working if it's going to start beeping at you erratically and you're at the end of the cycle and you're only halfway through your deep working micro window. Yeah? Use headphones or earplugs when your family is home and you're trying to work. Block them out. Schedule your work around family noise if you can. Like you're going to do maybe an hour while your baby naps, or you're not even going to attempt it while you're looking after the grandkids. Instead, you'll do it in the evening. Experiment yourself with one physical change to the literal noise in your household this week. Step 4, okay, you need to have a digital declutter. Now, I imagine this one will be pretty high on people's lists because it has been on mine this week in particular. And that's an episode for another day. But do whatever you can to turn down the literal and the mental noise that's coming from your digital devices. So turn off non-essential notifications. You don't need to know when IKEA announces its latest version of the Billy bookcase, which now comes with a foldable table, by the way. Yep, that was an alert I received from an app last week. Unfollow energy-draining accounts and people that make you compare yourself to them. Get rid of those people who aren't serving you anything healthy. Do it today. Turn off 3 app notifications or unfollow 3 people or accounts that you find exhausting and that aren't good for your productivity. Do you know what I've started doing? When you get all these emails through all the time and you're thinking, I didn't even sign up for that. What the hell is that? How did they get my email? Yeah, I have been going on those emails as they pop up and unsubscribing. And I'm finding that they're getting less and less as the weeks go on. So I'm hoping it will eventually become to the point where the only emails I receive are the ones I want to read, which I know is probably impossible, but at least I will have cut them down by a great portion. Step 5, draft yourself some really simple responses to the advice or opinion noise that we talked about earlier. Okay, so think about like 2-liners like, thanks for that. I'll consider it, yeah. Just to stop you getting sidetracked and distracted by words from people that you didn't even ask for. For me, I had to develop my simple response to unwanted advice recently, which was infiltrating my working day. It was knocking me off course. And mine was, okay, yeah, got it. I'll have a think on that. Translation, I'm not interested in this piece of advice because I didn't ask for it and it's just noise to me that I don't need in my head right now. So write down what you could say when someone puts their 2 pennies worth in. Yeah, it's quite therapeutic, trust me. And finally, step 6 in successfully turning down the noise around you is fill your well intentionally. So what does this mean? Well, replace all that unwanted noise, all that crap, with something you actually want to do. And this doesn't have to be work related. So you might choose to pick up a book at lunchtime instead of scrolling social media. I took up knitting at night last year to stop me defaulting straight to going onto my phone once Eden was in bed. And it was also to keep my hands busy, so I stopped shoving food in my mouth as well. But hey ho, 2 birds, 1 stone, eh? So pick one nourishing thing that you can do, but also that you want to do, and that's the key, and schedule it into your day. So what if you try all these things and you still feel noisy? Well, in this case, I'm afraid you might have a bigger problem. Or 2, actually. Boundaries and addiction. Noise can often be a boundary problem. And it often wins because we haven't told the world what we will accept. Now, this is me. I hold my hands up and say that a lot of my noise is down to boundaries or lack of. So, my friends often want to have a full-blown WhatsApp voice message chat on a Monday morning when they're keen to tell me about the trials and tribulations of the weekend and they're sat in the office and they've not got much to do. Well, I work for myself and Monday morning I am pedal to the metal. Or I have some vintage tree customers who are messaging me at 10 o'clock at night in regards to an order that they placed or they would like to place, And what do? I reply. Why? Because I don't like keeping people waiting. I want to be there for them. I want to help reduce the noise in their head. But at what cost? Their volume gets turned down because they've vented or they've had a question answered about their order and they can sleep tonight now. But my volume, well, that's been turned right up. I've got the constant low hum now in my brain, and I'm going to bed thinking, oh God, I must remember to print out Barbara's invoice tomorrow and include that gift note to her husband and post it first class tomorrow because they're going on a cruise on Tuesday, it's their anniversary, and she needs to take this with her. And now I can't sleep. What I should do instead is let Barbara know that I only reply to order inquiries between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. so she doesn't send that message in the first place. So have a think if the cause of your noise is actually down to a boundary problem instead. And if it's not, let's say your boundaries are beautifully in place, but you're still feeling the noise, then you could have an addiction problem. What do I mean? Well, are you causing your own noise by fueling it simply because you don't know how to stop? I read something the other day that said that UK adults check their smartphones every 12 minutes. Yeah, that's like an average of 96 times a day. My God, what did we do before phones? Like, that is crazy, isn't it? And we all do it. There's a boring bit in the programme that you're watching, or there's an ad break. What do? You reach for your phone. Your husband goes to the toilet and leaves the conversation for 5 minutes. What do? Open your phone and start scrolling social media. You're addicted. You don't want to be, but you formed a habit. And as we all know, if you bite your nails, or you smoke, or maybe you like a digestive biscuit with every single brew you have, habits are hard to break. But by feeding them, you are fueling that noise. So you have to make a conscious effort to break that habit and that addiction so that you aren't causing your own noise anymore. Leave your phone in a different room to you at night. That's what I do now. You have the volume control in your head. You just have to learn how to use it. Now, let me leave you with one helpful thing that I say to myself when my head is noisy. One thing that I can say on this podcast anyway. That doesn't contain a load of profanities that would shock my dad if he's listening. No, my simple mantra, which you can use too, is this. Noise will always exist. My job is to choose what I hear. And it's true. We can turn down the volume on the one thing that causes us the most noise and distraction in our day-to-day life and ultimately feel calmer and more free, as we really should be feeling. So this week, my mini challenge for you is to pick one noise to turn the volume down on. Yeah? Turn off one notification. Unfollow one account or person. Say no to something once. Whatever you can do to make your world a much quieter place. Now, before I finish with one of my classic anecdotes from the Pearce household, just a quick mention about my Etsy takeover service. If your Etsy shop is the source of your noise and stress and you need some help making it not only look good, but perform well too, get you some Christmas sales in, then check out my Etsy takeover service. So the link is in the show notes of this episode. But so far, I've helped a few very different businesses get their Etsy shop sorted and reduce that noise in their head so that they can relax, knowing that it's all taken care of. So do get in touch via email, herhandmadehustle@gmail.com, or DM if you'd like any help with your Etsy shop on the lead up to the biggest gifting season of the year. It's nearly upon us, isn't it? Now, here's a very fitting story about noise which occurred in our house last week. I swear these things only happen to us, right? We were woken at midnight on a standard Thursday evening by the screeching loud sound of the carbon monoxide detector going off. I mean, we didn't know it was that at first, but after Dave bolted out of bed and sprinted downstairs to follow the sound, we discovered that it was indeed the carbon monoxide detector. Well, you can imagine how that went down in our house with a noise-sensitive 6-year-old and Dave, panicker ice as we call him, because he's always bloody panicking about something. Anyway, so Eden's permanently velcroed to my hip, crying and screaming at the top of her voice, we're all going to die, what's that noise, mummy? And Dave's ringing 999, totally unaware of what service he requires. When they ask you. And instead, the operator is telling him if he doesn't explain what he's ringing for soon, they're going to put him through to the police. Honestly. So eventually, he gets through to the fire department, who then tell him to call the emergency gas number. Who the hell knows what that is? Anyway, we do now. So he did that. And he's on the phone for like 15 minutes to the operator while she's talking him through the different checks of appliances around our house, And she's instructing that everyone in the house immediately moves to fresh air. Well, I'm not being funny, love, but it was like 1 a.m. at this point. Storm Amy was starting up here in the UK, blowing a gale outside, hammering down the rain. And there's me with Velcro child on my hip, opening the balcony doors off our bedroom to get Eden out of the potentially poisonous air and into the throes of Storm Amy, right? I mean, Eden, she's all for herself and me. She slammed our bedroom door shut and fed Dave to the carbon monoxide wolves, right? He won't get him back in our bedroom if he tries. So what happened next? I mean, we're obviously not dead, are we? But about 10 minutes later, there's a knock at the front door, yeah? And in comes the emergency gas man with this huge stick, which he insisted on waving around in every room of the house, checking for the presence of carbon monoxide in the air. Wasn't exactly what I had pictured when I thought of a strange man in my bedroom at 1 a.m. waving his giant stick around, you know what I mean? So he's apologising, obviously, for the intrusion. Dave's hot on his tail, making sure he's not missed any potential gas leak. And Eden, well, by this point, she was calmer, yes, but she was just desperate to go downstairs and watch the poor man at work. All the while, telling me not to worry about getting dressed or putting my makeup on because, Mummy, he isn't handsome, don't worry. I know, I thought I taught her better than that. It's all inside that counts, Eden. Anyway, we get the all clear, right? The gas engineer puts it down to a very old carbon monoxide detector. He gives us a new one, and off he goes on his way. But before he does that, he tells us that he has to just check the neighbours' houses too to rule out a potential gas leak there because we live in a row of 5 houses. Jesus, it was 2 a.m. by this point, and this is where the long stick came in use. So he poked it through their letterboxes while they were sleeping to run the check. I mean, thank God they didn't wake up. Like, just picture the BFG, when he's got that big trumpet thing and he sticks it through the windows of people's houses in the middle of the night, blowing good dreams and catching bad ones. Yeah, it was like that, honestly. I asked my neighbours the next day if they'd heard anything, but luckily they said no and they were sound asleep. So all good, the noise didn't disrupt them. But I just thought that was a funny story about noise that would make you laugh. Like I say, it can only happen to us. So get involved. Tell me what noise you plan to switch off this week. Send me a message on Instagram, email me. Let's make our world a quieter, more pleasant and enjoyable place to exist in. And share this episode with someone else who might need some help turning down the volume. Maybe they're always on their phone, or they're comparing themselves to others, or they're stressed and seemingly overworked. Send this episode to them. It might really help. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. I've really enjoyed recording this episode. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it. And I'll see you next time on the Her Handmade Hustle Unplugged podcast.